Hi, I'm the Mythology Guy, and I just recently saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Yes, I know it came out 2 weeks ago, leave me alone. I couldn't find anyone to go see it with, because a bunch of my friends watched it without me, and the other ones weren't interested in seeing it. So I went and saw it. I didn't think I'd be talking about this on the channel, but several people were actually asking me to, and then when I saw it, I found out why. So, yeah, there are some small mythical elements in it with the Mayans and stuff. And now, as a lot of you know, but just for any newcomers, first I'm going to talk about this movie spoiler-free, then I'll go into spoilers later. So, yeah, basically, overall gist, is this movie as good as the first movie? I don't think so. I enjoyed the first movie more. I had a lot more fun watching the first movie. I remember there was a lot more cheering during the first movie. The audience never cheered during this film, and they never applauded even at the end. The only time applause started was during the credits when it said, in loving memory of Chadwick Boseman, which, yeah, that's a good time to, people started clapping during that, and I was all about that. I joined in, but, this movie I think this movie was very damaged by the tragic loss of Chadwick Boseman. It's not the movie's fault, obviously, but a lot of the points in the movie and the overall plot of the movie, there's just so much where, man, I feel like this would have been so much better if that man were here to star in it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Obviously, there's a new Black Panther in this. If you don't know who it is, I'll be shocked. Like, I thought everyone knew who it was, but apparently some people were like, oh, yeah, I was guessing the whole time. I'm like, really? You don't know who it's gonna be? But, alright, I guess some of you don't know, so I won't say it, but, I thought it was obvious, and if you have a guess, I'm pretty sure your first guess is right. But yeah, this new Black Panther, like, the actress, spoiler, it's a woman, but, pretty much all the choices are women, unless you thought it was going to be M'Baku, which I don't think anyone thought. But, so the actress playing Black Panther is a good actress, and she's doing a good performance. Like, this movie is trying to give her a lot more character development so that she can become the new Black Panther, and yeah, it makes sense that they're trying that. It's just, I feel like it really shows that it was never planned for her to become Black Panther, and that really works against her. And when she eventually is in the Black Panther suit, it's a cool suit, and the action is good, but it's just her body type doesn't really feel like it works for this kind of superhero. You think of panthers and you think of these, like, big, like, deadly beasts, and I wasn't really getting that from this actress. Like, this actress has a role in, the MCU canon, which is a very useful role, and a very, she's always been a good character, but I just don't think she slips into this, it's not like slipping on a glove. It's not like, oh yeah, definitely great Black Panther. I wasn't really feeling it overall. I didn't hate it, though. I wasn't against the idea. I just, I don't know. Like, the whole time I saw her being Black Panther, I was just, I couldn't help but really, maybe it's just me, maybe it's just a me problem, but I couldn't help but really, really miss Chadwick Boseman. And yeah, even though that's not the movie's fault and that's not the actress's fault, it does work against the movie. Maybe this is just me. I mean, did you feel that way? I don't know. Another issue with this movie is it's too long. It's really too long, in my opinion. You feel the length. Like, and this movie is almost 3 hours long, and you can make movies that are 3 hours long where you don't feel the length. I didn't feel the length in Endgame. I never feel the length when I rewatch Lord of the Rings movies. I think the first Black Panther was like 2 hours and 20 minutes, and that was a perfectly fine length, and I was okay going in with this being almost 3 hours long. I was like, oh, of course it's going to be 3 hours long. They've got a lot to introduce. They have to mourn Chadwick Boseman, which they do very well in this film. They pay good homage to him, as they should. They have to set up the new Black Panther, which I've already told you how I feel about it. Like, they're trying really hard, and I just don't think it's fully working, but in some ways it's working. There's some good stuff in there, but it's more of like I understand what they're doing than I feel what they're doing with this new Black Panther. They also have to set up the new villain, which for the most part I think is done well, and Then they also they decided to set up another character, which is one mistake I think the movie made. I don't think you needed to do that. They set up another character, like this scientist character, and it's like, well, here's a problem. Just cut that out. You don't need that here. Like, this isn't about that character. And honestly, this scientist character is meant to be a comic relief. I didn't laugh at a single thing this character said. I thought it was a little just too on the nose and too silly. And one thing, and yeah, it's really weird, like, because this character that they're introducing is here to take up the mantle of another character now, and it's like, wait, we're already having someone take up the mantle of Black Panther. You can't throw in another one, because you're never gonna be able to properly establish that, and they don't! They never even mention this other character whose mantle they're supposed to be taking up. And yeah, I'm sorry, none of the scientists' jokes worked. And then there's one point just out of nowhere where Okoye just goes, I like her. Why? I don't get why you do. You never gave me a reason to. Like, maybe if she did something cool, but no, it's just a scene where she's throwing speakers at them. Why would you like her for that? I don't get it at all. I really don't get it. Now, the villain, this is shown in the trailer, so it's not technically a spoiler, even though I didn't gather it from the trailer because I'm silly. The villain is Namor in this movie. So it's about it's about the Wakandans finding out about the Atlanteans and Namor. Except it's not Atlantis in this version. Namor and the Atlanteans are instead Mayans now. I can't remember the name of the city. Dang it. I think it was like Taloca or something like that. Or Tacol. It was a Mayan name. So they don't call it Atlantis. They call it like a Mayan city. They've changed Namor's backstory to a Mayan backstory. Originally, he was the child of a sea captain and an Atlantean woman. Now, I think some comic fans are going to be mad about that, and I get it, you know? I've talked about how much I hate how the Percy Jackson movies, like, changed the Percy Jackson canon. I've talked about how I don't like how Gods of Egypt, like, changed the races of the characters. Namor's race is very vague, though. Like, I guess, you know, his father was white, so I guess you could say he was half white before, and now he's Mayan, so it's kind of different. And yeah, I imagine some people are going to be mad at that, and I think you have a right to be mad about that if you're a fan of comic book Namor. I wasn't going in. Here's one thing about comic book Namor, though. Comic book Namor's origin is pretty much the exact same as Aquaman's. Like, literally, child of Atlantean woman and sea captain who ends up ruling Atlantis. It's the exact same as Aquaman's. And since we are currently getting Aquaman movies, like one of them's literally being worked on right now, and we just got one a few years ago, it would be kind of weird to have Marvel now have a character who's got the exact same backstory as Aquaman. So I don't really mind them changing up Namor to make him more unique from Aquaman, because it's like, if you want the, you know, guy who's a child of a sea captain and an Atlantean, well, you've got that over on the DC films coming out literally as these Marvel films come out. So it is kind of cool to have this other underwater sea city have a different backstory and a different, like, look to them and, like, things that make them more unique from Aquaman, to the point where it's like, hey, you know, if Namor and Aquaman fought, each side would be unique enough that, you know, they wouldn't just feel like, hey, Atlantis versus Atlantis. There is one other thing that makes Namor unique, and it's the wings. But I think it's kind of a decent idea that they changed up those things about. And do you agree with me on that? Like, maybe you don't. I get it. Like, if you're a Namor comic book fan, then yeah. As a Percy Jackson fan, I think I can feel your pain on that. But yeah, Namor, I liked Namor in the film overall. I got his motivation. He's in the wrong, obviously. He doesn't trust anyone on the surface. He thinks that, you know, everyone on the surface should be wiped out except maybe Wakanda, and the only reason he thinks except maybe Wakanda is, I guess, because they were a hidden society too who use vibranium like he does. So that's why there's these, like, unsteady, like, ooh, can we have peace with Namor's people, or will we be at war with Namor's people? And I think it works. Like, because Shuri, the princess of Wakanda, does try to make peace with Namor, like, multiple times. And yeah, it's like, you know, when they're sitting together, I'm like, okay, come on, you can try to find a way for peace. And then she does, and I'm like, okay, good. Yeah. Like, I don't think, like, the characters just behave stupid in this film, for the most part. Like, there's some serious problems with the plot at the end that I'll talk about in spoilers, because that's when the stupid starts to happen. But up until then, I didn't think they were doing stupid things. Now, a lot of people thought Namor was going to be silly with the little wings on his feet, the little Hermes wings, like, flying around. But I, like, even though I beforehand was thinking, okay, I hope they can make this cool, because I love it when, like, a Marvel movie or a DC movie can take a element from the comics that's kind of silly and make it really cool in a movie. I thought they made it awesome in this movie. When Namor has his spear and he's flying around and attacking, he's like zipping all over the place and blasting through people. I thought it was awesome. I thought Namor was really badass in this movie. When they show his kingdom, though, one thing I think this movie is missing from the first movie is, like, the epicness of Wakanda. Like, Wakanda was so epic and gorgeous in the last movie because they had to show it off. Like, because it was your introduction to it. We don't really get that here, but I didn't mind that so much, because it's like, yeah, we already know what Wakanda looks like, so now we're not gonna, whoa, Wakanda, remember that? Yeah, we don't need to do that again. But we're getting introduced to an underwater kingdom now, so I thought, okay, this is where the big, show-off, amazing shit is gonna be. I didn't get that, though. They do show the underwater kingdom, but it was pretty much just people swimming around in a really dark underwater. And, you know, there's this music playing like, oh, isn't this whimsical? And I remember thinking, well, that just looks like, you know, when my buddies and I hang out at the lake. You know, it doesn't look like a big deal. In my honest opinion, it didn't look like a big deal. At one point, they do eventually then get to where a big palace is, and I'm like, okay, that looks kind of cool. Now are we going to start seeing, like, the big epic stuff? But no, it kind of stops there, and I was like, oh, well, I'm a little disappointed with that, because I'm a big sucker for Mesoamerican culture. Like, I know a lot of Aztec myth, and I know some Mayan myth, and I know some Inca culture, and I was like, this is going to be really cool, like, to see how, like, all this Mesoamerican structures and stuff are underwater, like, you know, there's so much you can do with it, but I don't feel like they did that much with it. I only started to feel that when later we get, like, a throne room scene of Namor in front of his people, and he's dressed in, like, this jaguar iconography on his throne. I was like, that's really cool. That looks really cool. More of that, please. Now, when we see the undersea warriors, they are dressed in really cool Mayan, like, warrior garb, too, and I liked that. That was really good. But I just felt like the city didn't have the epicness to it, even close to, like, other, like, epic cities we've seen. Like, it was not a Wakanda 2.0, unfortunately. I was really hoping it would be, and I didn't get that here. And, you know, so yeah, that was my problem with the underwater city, but I still really liked Namor. Like, I thought Namor was badass. Like, I thought he had, like, I don't know what the general consensus is on Namor's motivation, but I thought, obviously, he's in the wrong, but I get it, because I do. He's basically a more extremist version of how Wakanda wanted to keep itself secret. Wakanda was like, we need to keep in the last movie, we need to keep ourselves secret. Like, we can't trust other people with vibranium. Namor is like, we need to keep ourselves secret, and if anyone finds out about this, we'll fucking kill them. Like, that's Namor. One character who gives out a really amazing performance is the Queen of Wakanda. She commands authority in this film, and I really liked her. The performance was fantastic. Honestly, I think she could have made a really cool Black Panther, actually. But yeah, that does not happen. One issue with her character in this film is, you remember how Black Panther 1 ended, where T'Challa was telling everyone, you know what, we're going to share our resources with everyone, we're going to help the world, we're going to act as if we are all one clan, because it was wrong of us to turn our backs on everyone. Well, this movie starts with like the Queen at I guess a UN meeting or something. And yeah, the people are saying, hey, like, Wakanda hasn't been keeping its word. You haven't been sharing resources. And she just goes, you can't be trusted with them. And that's it. Like, she doesn't, I don't think she's honoring her son. And by the way, this isn't resolved. This doesn't become like a thing later, like, I would get it if she was acting out of grief, like not like sharing the resources and not trusting the world anymore. But then you would make it by the end of the story, she realizes she's wrong, and in order to honor, like, or the Wakandans, at least in general, realize that was wrong, and they need to honor T'Challa by doing what he would have wanted to do. Never happens. No, that's just, I guess part of the message of this movie is don't trust other people. Even though they're saying Namor is wrong for not trusting other people, Wakanda still doesn't trust other people. This is a serious problem with the plot, you guys. Like, there's a lot of, I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy in the plot. And yeah, I am going to talk about that more in spoilers. So yeah, the action's cool in this movie. Like, there's some really cool action in this film, but there's not enough of it. There's not enough of it to justify the runtime. I think you should have written out that new character you introduced. You didn't need that person. You could have saved maybe at least 20 minutes of screen time by not having that person in there. Yeah, I don't know how I would have fixed the new Black Panther situation. I don't know. I don't know how I would have done it, honestly. This movie had some big shoes to fill, and I don't blame it. Like, I don't envy the people who had to figure out, oh my god, our lead actor passed away, like, what do we do? Like, I don't envy that at all. I imagine that must have been really hard to find a way to deal with. But yeah, I liked the Mayan stuff, but I wanted more of it. I wanted more Mayan iconography. I thought it could have been really cool. I liked Namor. I liked his action scenes. I liked how they paid tribute to Chadwick Boseman. I loved the Queen. But yeah, the movie felt too long. It did drag. Oh, and one thing I couldn't stand in this movie was some of the soundtrack, to be honest with you, because sometimes there's a moment that's supposed to be serious, and then this stupid modern pop music keeps playing over it, and I'm like, shut up! That, like, I'm honestly, like, pop music with lyrics, like, and it's playing over what are supposed to be serious scenes, and I'm just thinking, shut the hell up! I can't take this moment seriously during this, when you play this stupid pop music. Like, I feel like the last movie knew how to handle a good balance of, like, last movie made so much use of, like, more tribal, like, African music, and it sounded really cool. We do get some of that here. And, like, I think they saved the more modern style music for when they were in the more modern setting, you know, like when they were going after Claw and stuff. And I feel like they knew how to balance that here. But this movie doesn't know how to balance it. At least that's how I felt. I felt like those pop song moments completely sucked me out of what were supposed to be serious moments. And I was like, okay, can this scene just end already? That was my honest thought. I didn't like it. I did not like when that happened. And some of you may be thinking, well, what about Guardians of the Galaxy? That stuff is filled with pop music. Well, yeah, but Guardians of the Galaxy has a completely different tone. The movie is built around that kind of attitude. This movie isn't that. This movie is coming off, like, the death of someone. And it's, like, there's a lot of stuff that you're supposed to take very seriously. It's supposed to hit you right in the heart. And that doesn't happen because you keep playing these stupid pop songs that I can't... Okay, so overall, what would I give the movie? I think I'd give it a 7. Because it's still good overall, I feel. But I don't really have an interest in seeing it again. I saw the first movie twice in theaters, and I didn't mind that at all. But this one I'm kind of done with. I'm just excited to see where Namor goes from here. That's kind of it, to be honest with you. Yeah, I'm not feeling the new scientist character. Maybe the following stuff with them will, like, be good. I'm hoping it is. The new Black Panther, I kind of feel kind of mad about, which is sad because the actress does a really good job in this. It's just, she's a victim of circumstance, I feel like. The action's good, but there's not enough of it. Movie's too long. The Queen is good, but some of her decisions don't make any sense. So yeah, overall I'd give this a 7. I do have very mixed feelings about this film. I'd give it a 7 at most. That's my honest thoughts on it. I know a lot of people are giving this, like, I think this is a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. So good for those people who enjoyed it that much. I didn't enjoy it that much, though. Yeah, those are my honest thoughts. And now I'm going to get into spoilers. You ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So the queen dies. Yeah, Namor freaking kills the queen. By the way, the new character who's introduced is, I believe her name is Riri. She's supposed to be the new Iron Man. And, they never mention Iron Man once in this film, even though she's supposed to be taking up his mantle. And it's like, well, on the one hand, I'm glad you didn't insert even more stuff into this already too long film, but it's like, also that means you can't do this character's, like, journey properly, especially if you're gonna literally put her in an Iron Man suit multiple times in the film. It's like, wait a minute, we need some mention of Tony Stark if you're gonna do that. So in that case, just don't put Riri Williams in the film. That's my honest thoughts. I think, like, I know you're trying to introduce more stuff, but it's not needed here. There is plenty of stuff that needed to be better, like, dealt with in this movie. You did not have the time to introduce Riri Williams. And also, like, Riri Williams, like, this whole, like, so she designed a Wakanda tracking device for the government, and the government just took it and didn't even tell her about. Why wouldn't they enlist her? Like, why wouldn't they hire her? It's stupid, because that way you don't have to try to kidnap her later in the film. Also, the device gets destroyed, but then... so the government needs her again because they can't build it without her. Did you not save the blueprints? Did you not... Come on, guys, the government's not that stupid. I mean, jeez Louise. But yeah, so then Riri's throwing speakers at Okoye and Shuri, and Okoye's like, I like her. Why? I love Okoye, by the way. She's still totally badass in this film, but that scene was stupid. Oh, one really great highlight scene in this film was when the Namor's people, the Mayans, or the Sea People, whatever, let's just call them the Sea People, were wiping out that I think it was a mining rig. Like, they were using, like, a siren song to have everyone just jump off and unalive themselves. And it was so, like, creepy and cool. It was something right out of, like, siren mythology. And I really, like, I was like, whoa, like, this is something. This is really something. So that was really cool. Oh my god. You remember that stupid colonizer joke from the first film where they, for no reason at all, I think what's his name? Ross, like the guy who's the, like, one white character in the first film who's, like, super nice and super helpful and, like, works with the Wakandans and keeps their secrets. Remember when Shuri just calls him a colonizer for literally no reason? It's like, oh yeah, you're white. That means you're a colonizer. Okay, great, you're incredibly racist. Like, what was how am I supposed to feel about that? Can you imagine the reverse of that? Can you imagine if, like, a white character looked at any, like, black character and said, hey, I'm not even going to say it, like, you know where I'm going with this, but can you imagine, like, what the reaction would be? That'd be horrible. Like, you can't just call someone that just because they're... And it's not even... And they clearly didn't learn anything, because in this movie, they double down on that shit. Like, this character gets arrested for keeping Wakanda's secrets. Like, because he was loyal to them and kind to them, he gets arrested, and they bust him out of jail, and fucking Okoye literally says, a colonizer in handcuffs. Now I've seen everything. What? Why are you still insulting this man who is helping you and being loyal to you? Why are you still being racist to him? Like, why do you do that? Also, what the hell do you mean, like, a colonizer in chains? Now I've seen him. Are you saying white people have never been arrested before? That joke doesn't make any sense at all. It's the stupidest joke you could possibly make. I don't get it. And it's like they end the movie on that. I'm like, ugh. Oh, there's no end credits scene, by the way, so don't stay all the way through the credits. There's a mid-credits scene, but no end credits scene. But yeah, I really hate that stupid attempt at humor. Like, it's so bad. The audience did not laugh once during this film, by the way. There was not a single laugh during this film. I swear. Oh, no, wait. No, I take that back. There was one laugh, and it was when, and I guess this was a little funny, when, like, like Okoye wasn't sure about her makeup, and Shuri's like, no, you look good. Like, I think that was the one and only laugh during this entire movie. So yeah, the comedy wasn't working in this film, unfortunately. Even though overall I still think it's a good movie. Oh, what's another spoiler thing I need to talk about? I mean, now also Ross and what's her name? Shit, Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character. I guess they used to be married. They have an interesting dynamic, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, Shuri becomes the new Black Panther. Unfortunately, like, her in the suit is like really, really skinny. It's so it looks a little weird. But we also know that the herb exists, and that's what like gives her the super strength. So I still believe she has the powers. It just looks a little awkward to see how skinny the new Black Panther is. It's but it's like, what can you do? Like, so I also kind of get it. M'Baku is still really cool in this film. M'Baku and Okoye are my two favorite characters. They were my two favorite characters in the first film, and they're still my two favorite characters here. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, when Shuri like becomes queen, like, they have this ceremony at the end where everyone's gathered, and then Shuri just doesn't show up. Like, M'Baku shows up, he's like, sorry, the princess will not be joining us. Why? Like, is that not an issue politically to be so... You realize everyone there had to fly out to show respect to you becoming queen, and you're just gonna spit in all of their faces? Do you realize how disrespectful that is? Like... you could start a civil war by doing things like that. That is horrible behavior. So yeah, I didn't like that scene either. Shuri like defeats Namor. What I like about Shuri as Black Panther, what I do like is I feel like they know, okay, she's not the super badass warrior her brother was, but she is a genius, so she's going to use her smarts, like her brain, to defeat Namor. So yeah, she comes up with a plan to like drain the water from his body, and it's a good plan. And it works. Like, now obviously, like, he still kind of beats her in combat, but she does like manage to like fry him and get the remaining, like, I guess, water out of his system. What's weird is there's a scene where he stabs her through the gut, and she just pulls the thing through her, and of course, because this is a Marvel movie, there's no blood at all on the spear that just was inside her. It's like, okay, then don't show the spear. Like, it's kind of ridiculous and takes you out of the moment if she pulls the spear out, and then you have a close-up on the spear, and it's perfectly clean. Come on, guys, that's dumb. And so, like, it's like, you might wonder, well, how can she still fight if she was just stabbed through the gut? It's like, well, I guess I'll chalk that up to the magical herb that's giving her powers. Okay, yeah, you could say herb or herb. I say herb a lot, I'm sorry. But yeah, and then what I thought was really dumb, so what I thought was cool, though, was in her herb vision, she sees Killmonger. That was cool to bring him back. It was cool to see him again. But when she defeats Namor, like, she wants to kill him for obvious reasons. He killed her mother. And so she's ready to kill him, and she ends up deciding not to, which is the right decision to make. Because if you, as M'Baku said, like, his people see him as a god. If you kill him, they'll never stop coming for us. So she decides not to kill him. But then it's like, okay, you didn't kill him. Imprison him then. But she doesn't. She just lets him go. And she says the stupidest thing. Like, she says, okay, like, if you yield, you can live, your people can live, and we will keep your secrets. Excuse me? What do you mean you'll keep his secrets? And I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, and she just lets him go. And he goes and he tells his people, hey, we're done fighting, back to our version of Atlantis. And so they go, and it's like, wait a minute, you're just gonna let this man go? You could have stopped the war by holding him prisoner. You could have, like had, like, a spear to his neck, and he still would have called off his men. And then you take him to Wakanda, and you throw him in a jail cell. You don't let this man go. This man killed the queen. This man nearly wiped out all of Wakanda. The only reason you beat this man was because you had the element of surprise. You don't have that anymore. He could wipe out your whole country anytime he wants to, you idiot. You can't just not imprison a man who murdered the queen. Does the rest of Wakanda not have a problem with this? This is literally the entire start of, like, Justice League the Flashpoint paradox, if anybody knows that story. Like, I mean, you can't do that. It's so stupid. Why do you trust this man after everything he's done? Oh my god, it's so dumb that they let him go. That is the most boneheaded political decision you could make. And you're gonna keep his secrets? Excuse me, this man's soldiers slaughtered dozens of innocent Americans, and the Americans think your people did it. Do you not think America has a right to know who's been slaughtering their people? Do you not think America is supposed to be, if you want to be allies, this is why you can't keep allies, because you don't know how to behave with the rest of the world. This movie should have ended with the realization, hey, we need to honor my brother, and that means we are going to continue sharing resources, and we are going to tell the rest of the world, like, about this threat. You could have had Namor say, like, I need you to keep our secrets, and then she could be like, you gave up that right when you went to war with the rest of the world. Because that's the truth. You can't just murder all these innocent people and then have Wakanda go, no, that's fine, we'll keep your secrets for you, even though the rest of the world thinks we did it. This is never resolved, by the way. The rest of the world thinks Wakanda is the one who attacked, and then Ross, is like, hey, give me some time to investigate this. Ross ends up getting arrested for not sharing the truth with America, and then they just bust Ross out of jail, and it's like, but wait a minute, the rest of the world still thinks you've been attacking people. Is there not gonna be war? Like, you can't just drop off on that. You're gonna keep Namor's secrets. You don't have a truth to tell the people about. You can't just keep that a secret. That is horrible behavior. Namor is being rewarded for everything he did. It's so stupid. This is horrible. This is a horrible ending. Oh, God, I gave it a 7. Was I too nice? Maybe I should have given it a 6. Whatever, I'm somewhere between a 6 and a 7. I don't know, because there is a lot of good stuff in it. But that ending was awful. That was an awful ending. Stupid releasing Namor and not telling the world about him, because he does not have a right to secrecy anymore. You don't have a right to secrecy when you do literal acts of war against the world. Oh, that was stupid. I'm sorry. I just can't believe how bad the writing was there. But, yeah. And then, so at the ending, in the mid-credits scene, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. T'Challa's, former love, comes to Shuri. Shuri thinks she has no family left, but then, T'Challa's, former love comes with, and she's like, this is my son. And she says to her son, see, this is your Aunt Shuri. And it's like, oh, it's T'Challa's son, because that's the only way she could be this boy's aunt. And it's like, so, hey, she still has family. It's like, oh, maybe this kid will grow up and one day be a Black Panther as well. And so then the kid goes, Shuri's like, I'm good at keeping secrets. And the boy's like, oh, really? Here's my secret. T'Challa's my father. And it's like, yeah, I know. You already made that completely clear. You didn't have to say that. That's a little, I don't know, it felt a little superfluous. But, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the film. Okoye is still a total badass in the film. She takes on 3, sea people at once. Pretty damn cool scene. But she gets beat by the last one, which is sad to see. But you gotta keep in mind, these sea people have, powers. So I do believe that, he could beat her. And then she does take him down later, so that's cool. So yeah, Okoye gets to be badass. M'Baku, I wish M'Baku had gotten some more badass moments. I don't feel like he got enough, but he did get some, so that's cool. Yeah, I think that's everything I have to say. I'm guessing this is an unpopular opinion. I'm guessing some of you are like, well, you're white, so you don't get it. It's like, oh, I don't know what to tell you. If you want my opinion, there's my opinion. I love the Mayan iconography. That was really cool. They call Namor Kukulkan. I think because he can fly is why they call him that. Kukulkan is the feathered serpent from Mayan myth, who is known as Quetzalcoatl in Aztec myth. Oh, wait, there was one more thing I wanted to say. Speaking of Namor, they make his backstory just so the Spanish were raiding Mexico, so we had to run. And then we had to come back to bury my mother, and I was furious to see the Spanish treating people horribly when I got back. And it's like, I'm a little surprised by that, because like, you already knew the Spanish were attacking, and then you got back and you were surprised to see the Spanish still, like, subjugating. You know what I thought would have been better, honestly? Here's what I think would have been a lot better. Namor and his people had to flee Mexico, and hear out the whole thing before you make a judgment, because the Aztecs were raiding Mayan villages, because that was a thing that happened. The Aztecs raided Mayan villages in order to, like, sacrifice them to their sun gods. So you could have said, like, you know, like, our people had to run because Aztecs were attacking our people, and then we came back much later to bury my mother. And then you could say, when he came back, now is when the Spanish are subjugating the people. So it's like, he left because people from his same country were attacking his people, and then he comes back and he sees people from different countries attacking his people. So you could say that's why he doesn't trust, like, anyone. Like, people of all colors and races, like, okay, not all colors and races, but people from different colors and races have, like, wronged his people, and then you could say that's why, like, he has such a bitter, like, thought process towards just people in general, you know? Like, because otherwise, if it's only the Spanish, it feels like the only group for you to hate again is just white people, and then that's just Killmonger again, I guess. But I think that would have been better. I mean, that's my personal idea. Do you have a thought on that? Do you think that's a good replacement? Because, yeah, I mean, if you want to have him build anger towards the entire world, it might be better to show more different groups of the world, like, creating that resentment in the first place, instead of it just all being the Spanish. I personally think that would have been better. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Again, very interested to hear your thoughts. And I don't know how to end videos.